Welcome to today's edition of the Rush 24/7 podcast.
Have you ever seen this? Have you ever seen a primary campaign where the two top frontrunners in a party are both trying to be destroyed by that party?
Live from the Southern Command in sunny South Florida, it's Open Line Friday!
Do you ever remember seeing anything like this? Forget in your lifetime because you haven't. Or maybe no, not two. The two top frontrunners, factions, different factions within the Republican Party are trying to take out both of these guys. Greetings, my friends, and welcome to Open Line Friday on Rush Limbaugh's EIB Network, the most listened to radio talk show in America. Great to have you here, as always. The telephone number, if you want to be on the program, is 800-282-2882. The email address, lrushbo@eibnet.com. For those of you who are new, and that's a big number, latest research data, the audience is expanding in near geometric proportions as people seek guidance, answers, explanations, information, and an answer to the basic question, what the hell is happening out there? Let me tell you what Open Line Friday is for those of you who are novices. Monday through Thursday, callers on this program, and by the way, this program is a benevolent dictatorship. There is no First Amendment for anybody but me. I'm the dictator, but I'm benevolent. Monday through Thursday, when we go to the phones, the calls have to be on subject matter interesting to me. I mean, that's why people listen. They don't tune in here to be bored. But on Friday, I throw all that out, take a giant career risk by not limiting what it is callers want to talk about. So Friday, you can bring up anything you want. I consider it a gift from the benevolent dictator. To the subjects. Week they can bring up anything they want, questions, comments, doesn't matter, doesn't have to be politics, doesn't have to be whatever you think this program is primarily about. It can be anything. So that's basically it in a nutshell. Here again, the phone number is 800-282-2882 and the email address lrushbo@eibnet.com. So over here you have establishment Republicans trying to take out Ted Cruz by sidling up with Donald Trump. Over here, you have conservative intelligentsia, the intellectual leading light of conservatism, National Review, trying to take out Trump. The establishment, which National Review has been plenty supportive of in recent years, is trying to take out Trump, or trying to take out Cruz, sidling up to Trump, while National Review is trying to take Trump out. If Ted Cruz becomes president of the United States, I am here to tell you that there will be more knives needing to be removed from his back, placed there by fellow Republicans, than by any number of knives in his back placed there by the Democrats, because the Democrats' attacks will be from the front, and he will see those coming. I have never seen anything like this, where the two top front runners are both being targeted by different wings or elements, if you will. And folks, people keep not hounding me, because I don't consider it to be hounding, but people keep asking me, Rush, what do you think? What do you do? What are you going to do? What do you make of all this? In fact, let me find a soundbite. I wasn't going to play this at the top, but it fits if I can just find it here. It's CNN. I think it's CNN, trying to figure out what I think of. Yeah, here it is. Grab number 9. This is a piece on CNN. They're utterly confused. This ran last night on Anderson Cooper 360. And what they always say, folks, this is important. Left-wing America, the drive-by media, the Democrat Party, when talking about you or me or conservatives, always say that we're just a bunch of, among other things, simpletons, that we're too dense to understand intellectual nuance. Well, we're too dumb to understand any nuance. That you are mind-numbed robots incapable of forming your own opinions and making up your own minds. So you tune here to find out what you should think, and you tune in here to find out what it is you don't know. And if you didn't do that, you would be blindly traversing the tundra and the countryside, thinking the blizzard was going to kill you today. So given that, given how we know the left looks at us in terms of being simpleton and mind-numbed robots, listen to this report from Tom Foreman on CNN last night.
Trump has enjoyed oceans of praise on conservative radio.
The last 10 minutes of what Trump did last night sealed the deal. I mean, the sincerity, the appreciation for the audience.
But now that he's taking on his closest challenger, Tea Party favorite Ted Cruz, the tide is turning.
A genuine conservative, even in the Republican field, would not go after Cruz this way.
As the months passed and the battle with Cruz became inevitable, the conservative talkers sharpened their words. And the dean of conservative talk, Rush Limbaugh,
I think Trump is making a strategic error in the way he criticizes Cruz. But, folks, it's unrealistic to expect that they're not going to go after each other.
The conservative talkers will almost certainly hurt Trump if they keep hitting him this way. But if he looks like he can win the nomination and the White House, they could change their tune again. After all, they've been mad at the Democrats a whole lot longer.
What does all of this mean to you? They do not know what I think. They are curious. They are confused. The dean of talk radio, is he for Trump or is he against it? They can't figure it out. Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you of a phone call we got yesterday toward the end of the program, a 28-year-old young man. And, yeah, we're going to get to the National Review stuff because I've got Rich Lowry and these guys all on TV. We'll react to it as if you're hearing their words. But I don't think what's happening here in that regard is complicated. I think this is easily explainable because we are literally going through things here that in many ways are unprecedented. And there are challenges for people that challenges they haven't had to make. And it's causing much consternation and confusion. Lifetimes, careers are being questioned, the relevance, the importance, by virtue of this Republican campaign. I think what's happening is so big, is so momentous, it's impossible to predict exactly where it's going or what the end result is going to be. But it is exciting. This is thrill-packed. And what is happening here has the potential to be huge no matter the result. It has the potential to accomplish what so many of you for the last 25 years have called here and said you thought the Republican Party was going to do. There are genuine opportunities for massive upheaval and change here, with more than just one outcome. I myself am still analyzing it. I'm still trying to figure out what everything that happens means. I'm analyzing why certain people are supporting certain candidates, why certain people are not. What is it about certain candidates that's attracting all of this support? What is the appeal? I'm still analyzing it and trying to figure it out. And I'm having a ball doing it, by the way. It is a fun challenge to have. And I don't want to kill off any of it yet. May I be honest with you? I don't want to kill off anything that's happening right here. It's too big. It's too momentous. It's larger than any one of us. It's larger than any one organization, ideology, publication, whatever. What's happening here is so huge, I don't want to kill off any of it. I want to let things take place and let the natural ebb and flow of the process be the determining factor of what happens here. Mr. Limbaugh, are you so stuck on your something? You think this is Mr. New Castrati out there asking me a question? You think you're so big you can destroy something? Well, let's just say that I don't want to chance it. Now, let me go back to this guy that called yesterday, toward the end of the program, 28 years old, millennial. He said, and we were at the time, there was a discussion, as it is every day here, people calling why they like Trump, why they don't, why they like Cruz, why they don't, Rubio, you name it, people trying to explain to me, even going so far as trying to tell me why I like Trump. I mean, everybody's playing this analysis game. And this guy calls and says something that I hadn't heard said in this fashion. He said, Rush, I'm 28 years old. And what you need to understand is the way people my age and in my circle are looking at all of this. The first thing he said was, let's look at the two parties. The Democrat Party, I'm going to use his words here. He said the Democrat Party has become the party of the fringe, the fringes in America. And without my prompting, he defined what he meant. And he spelled out verbatim the Democrat Party coalition. And to him, a 28-year-old millennial, they are the fringe. The LGBT crowd, the gay marriage crowd, the civil rights coalitions, the militant feminism, the rape culture on campus crowd, the everybody trying to make everybody politically correct, the denial of the First Amendment, limits on free speech, putting photographers and pizza owners in jail if they don't do a cake or take pictures or bake a pizza for a gay wedding. Put them in jail. That's the Democrat Party, and that's the party of the fringe. He said the Republican Party is the party of white people. But what he meant was the party of middle America. He's talking about the party. They're not fringe. They're standard. They are, in his words, well, my words actually defining what he meant. He was not speaking racistly or racially in this. He was defining who the various constituent groups are for the political parties. Democrats are the fringe, and he said the Republican Party represents the white people of America. White men. He said basically white men. But here's the key to it. He said the Democrat Party is free to openly promote and advocate for all of their fringe groups, and the Republican Party is not. The Republican Party cannot say or do one thing to benefit their constituents because they're going to get called out as racists and bigots and whatever, so they have to stand mute. The Republican Party can't say anything positive or pro. It can't come up with any policies. It can't introduce any legislation that advances its primary constituency group because right now, at this point in time in American history, they are considered the problem. White men are the majority, the dominant majority. They're ones that got the country in trouble. They're the ones that have been racist, bigots, sexist, homophobes. The Democrat Party thinks it's perfectly legitimate. Go after them. The Republican Party is their political representative, but they can't defend them. So he said the two parties don't do a thing for us. The two parties have a paralyzing fight. One party that we might want to join can't do anything for us. The other party that we don't want to join is engaging in all this fringe stuff that's resulting in the rot and the destruction of our culture. And in the middle of all this, here comes Donald Trump. And he said, what you need to understand, Mr. Limbaugh, is that it isn't about Donald Trump. It's what Trump is and what Trump represents. And that is a totally new way that cannot be tied to either of the two political parties, which, frankly, Mr. Limbaugh, we don't like. There's nothing for us there. Now, he's talking about, he was not assuming that he's speaking for every millennial or every 28-year-old. He was talking about, don't know how many people, but I think it's a sizable number. And his point about Trump was, you keep talking about how Trump survives all these crazy things he says. Mr. Limbaugh, it isn't about any of that. Trump could say, do anything. It ain't going to hurt him because it isn't about him. It's about the fact that he represents to us a new way, a different direction. an ability to be honest about what you believe the problems are, an ability to be honest about your opponents, an ability to be honest about the people you think are responsible for making the mess. His point was, we can't even do that the way the politics of the country is structured today. You can't truthfully, honestly criticize. You're shut down by one side or the other. And for the most part, the left never gets shut down. They get amplified and promoted. And the opposition, I mean, if you wanted to join the Republican Party, to what end? Why would you? You're going to have a party that can't represent you. You're going to have a party that can't promote things for you because they're going to be tarred and feathered if they try. So Trump is the new way. Guy was saying that his group hates this current structure, the way American politics is working right now, and he thinks it's doomed to consign the country to the triumph of the fringes. And by definition, fringes do not triumph. By definition, fringes are not the majority. And so we want our shot at success. We want our shot at the American dream. And neither of the two political parties seems the slightest bit interested in any of that. They've both got theirs in terms of things that give them power today. And they don't want to take any risks whatsoever. I was utterly fascinated by it. I've been thinking about it, putting it in the mix with everything else that's happening out there as I try. And I really am. Without prejudice and about name-calling, I'm trying to figure out exactly what's happening because it is momentous. I've got to take a break here because of the constraints of time and the programming format, but hang in to be tough. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Hi, welcome back. Open Line Friday. Rush Limbaugh at 800-282-2882. Over on the Democrat side, there is upheaval, unexpected, and you might even say over there it's unprecedented. Bernie Sanders is literally mopping the floor in New Hampshire with Hillary Clinton. It is got people totally perplexed and wondering if it is real. The New York Times put together a compendium of quotes from a number of Democrat elected officials intended to frighten every registered Democrat voter to flee from Bernie Sanders immediately. Claire McCaskill, Missouri, said the Republicans won't touch him because they can't wait to run an ad with a hammer and a sickle, meaning Bernie's a communist. You know, I have to laugh. These Democrats who embrace communism wherever they can find it, suddenly upset that one of them in their midst might be elected president. Bernie Sanders, Jay Nixon, the governor of Missouri. There would be a meltdown all the way down the ballot. That's exactly what Bob Dole's saying about Trump. The two-party establishments, folks, are being turned upside down and inside out. Now, I understand the Republican establishment being in dire straits and existing in grave consequences. The Democrat establishment, the kook fringe of the Democrat base, I'm not surprised. They're sick and tired of having Hillary Clinton forced down their throat. They didn't want her in 2008. They don't want her now. And so they're turning to whoever they think is as much more viable than she is. Anyway, we'll sort through all of this as the program unfolds. Hang on. Open Line Friday. Rush Limbaugh, half my brain dying behind my back, just to make it fair. It is Iowa. Bernie Sanders, 51% support in Iowa. Hillary Clinton at 43, so it's an 8-point lead for Bernie Sanders. Clinton led by 18 last month. 18-point lead in December, now down to an 8-point deficit. Now, the Iowans who participated in the 2008 caucuses, survey found those people, Clinton leads Bernie 55-38. So apparently his lead is with new caucus members. Of course, if you listen to the experts talk, all these polling numbers in Iowa may not really matter. because here comes the conventional wisdom. Iowa's a caucus state, and you don't just show up and vote. You have to show up in the evening, and you have your coffee, and you sit around and you chat about it. You caucus, you discuss, and then you vote. And they're saying the same thing about Trump. I mean, yeah, is his voters going to show up and do this? And I've seen in I don't know how many places Trump does not have a ground game. And all Trump does is fly in, do a great show for an hour and a half or 2 hours with tens of thousands of people on hand, and gets on the plane and splits the scene, and leaving nothing behind, no ground game. And again, this is what those of the standard, ordinary, operating procedure, conventional wisdom, American politics, this is what they're saying to comfort themselves. Hey, kid, Trump, he's not going to win anything. You got to ignore the polls. But no, he doesn't have a ground game. Trump doesn't have any campaign experts. He doesn't have any specialists. He doesn't have any people working the caucus area. He doesn't have any people working in New Hampshire. Get out the vote, man the phone banks. He's not doing any of that. You wait. You're going to see. The polling numbers don't mean diddly squat. People are so threatened by what's happening. Folks, this is... In one sense, a lot of this is easy to understand, easily explained from even the psychological and the standpoint of human nature. Politics is like anything else. It is its own, let's call it a business just for the sake of it, just to call it something. It has its own rules. It has its own stars. It has its own wannabes. It has its own power cliques. It has its upper strata. It has its worker bees. It has its people that everybody else makes fun of. I mean, the whole gamut. Politics is thought to be different from that, though, because we learn from early days in school that politics is civics, and it's policy, and it's the best people with the best ideas campaigning and receiving support for those ideas and integrity and character. It's looks good on paper, but this business is as cutthroat. It's like any private club. You golfers, you want to join Augusta National? Forget it. You don't have a prayer. The requirements to get into Augusta National are things 99.999% of the people who play golf in this country will never, ever accomplish or qualify for. You can dream all day long. Politics is the same way. The people who run it are not interested in new blood. They're not interested in, unless they bring the new blood in themselves and shepherd them and mentor them. But if you're an outsider and you've never been in the business before, and all of a sudden you want to come in and run the show and assume the leader, people are just not going to back away and let you have it. No matter how great you are, no matter what you might do for them. Let me put it this way. Forget the name is Trump. If a candidate could guaranteed fix everything that's wrong in this country, the way the Republican Party thinks it's wrong, if it were a slam dunk, if it were guaranteed, that candidate will still be opposed by the Republican Party establishment. If they've never heard of him before, or if he's never been in politics before, if he's not part of the structure, the infrastructure, if he hasn't paid his dues, if he's not part of the clique, they don't want him in there. It's exclusionary, and it's got all kinds of people who want to get into it, who want to climb that ladder, who want to be at the top, and you just don't get there. It's in many ways, it's not merit-based like so many other things in life are. So there is a natural enmity to outsiders, to intruders. And when an outsider or intruder gets in, gets a nose under the tent and starts making noise, then the establishment lifelong members start caucusing together to figure out how they can get rid of this intruder who might just shake everything up. When it comes time to get rid of the intruder, all they know to do is what they've always done. They go to their playbook. Whatever party politics playbooks there are, they go to them. And so when you hear a lifelong political professional, consultant, fundraiser, donor, whoever, when you hear them say, well, Trump, he doesn't have a ground game. I mean, come on, you can't win without a ground game. You can't just fly in and do speeches. Even if 30,000 people show up, you gotta have a ground. They're trying to make themselves feel less frightened. Because what's really going on is the potential here that everything so many people have relied on, that's made them rich, that's made them famous, that's given them power, is on the verge of being destroyed and turned upside down. A lot of people who in their hearts know that they are irrelevant are about to have it demonstrated in their minds. That's their fear. And so it's circle the wagons time. And the Republican Party, for these reasons and others, is really animated, motivated, energized by taking out both of their frontrunners. So much so, you have heard many of them say they would prefer to lose the presidency of the United States. They would prefer to lose the most powerful office in the world if it meant somebody other than them within their party that they don't like or approve of winning that office. Not only that, you've heard them say that some of them say they would even go so far as to vote for Hillary Clinton. Does anybody think that's in the best interest of the country? Does anybody think that's in the best interests of the future of the country for your kids and your grandkids? No. What is that? That's self-preservation. That is protection. Trying to hold on to little kingdoms and fiefdoms and so forth. But it's certainly not what you would consider to be the national interest. Now, they will tell you opposite things, but that's why what's happening here is momentous. You can see by the panic. You can listen, you can hear, see, read the panic whenever anybody in the establishment phase, long there, entrenched, been working it for years and years, decades, when they react to Trump, when they react to Cruz, you can, in many of them, detect the fear. So then learning what it is they're afraid of, to me, that's interesting. What I know is that neither of these two parties in recent years, well, one party is destroying what I wholeheartedly, fervently believe with every fiber of my being is the best nation ever conceived by human beings. One party is set out to destroy it. They call it transforming it. Now, to me, that is a clarion call to opposition. Whatever else, they must be stopped. Whatever that has to happen. And this, I think, is the primary motivating force behind people supporting Trump and Cruz. It's not about being loyal to an ideology. It's not even about being loyal to a party. Being loyal to a party hasn't worked anyway. That's gotten nothing done. Being loyal to the Republican Party with donations, votes, hasn't done anything. I mean, look at National Review. My memory on this, somebody's going to have to check this for me, but it seems to me back in 2012, they ran a similar cover story or editorial that was against Newt Gingrich. You remember this, Mr. Snerdley? It was 2012, I believe. They ran a very similar anti-Newt Gingrich cover and editorial back in 2012. Rich Lowry said back then that, quote, I don't think we've ever done anything like this. And by that he meant gather together a group of conservative writers to try to dislodge a Republican. I don't know if Gingrich was front runner, but February 2012. So this is not National Review to Gingrich 2012. Drop out. So this is not the first time. And who ended up being the cover endorsed candidate? Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney's not a conservative. Mitt Romney had to fake being a conservative. It's out there saying, oh, I'm a severe conservative. Mitt Romney is the architect of what became Obamacare. We nominated a candidate who could not even criticize the number one Obama achievement with credibility. So people, Republican voters and donors, they look at all of this and they think there's a genuine crisis happening in this country, a genuine crisis that threatens the very existence of this country as founded. They don't see any opposition to it. In the Republican Party, they see opposition to it poo-pooed, laughed at, made fun of. To them, the people who make this country work, there's a genuine crisis for their kids and their grandkids. So when it comes to being loyal to conservatism or libertarianism or whatever, that's of secondary importance. Now, stopping what's happening, which translated is opposition to the Democrat Party, opposition to the American left, opposition to liberalism, communism, Alinskyism, whatever you want to call it, opposition to Hillary Clinton, opposition to Bernie Sanders. That is what is motivating, energizing, and inspiring. And that is not recognized. It's not acknowledged. It's not even given any respect at many areas in the Republican Party. So what are people going to do? They're not going to, you know what, I must make sure that conservatism does not get watered down and whatever it is. It's way beyond that now. 94 million Americans are not working. The border is wide open. Floods of unskilled, uneducated, non-English speaking people are arriving here monthly, and they will work for diddly squat or go on the welfare state rolls. In either case, squeezing the people in this country who are working, limiting their opportunity for wage increases, career expansion, and tax increases necessary to fund an ever-expanding welfare state. They don't want any part of it. To them, it's not about compassion. The Constitution is not a suicide pact to them. They love the country. They want it to survive. They don't want it being destroyed. They don't want it tampered with. They don't want it transformed. They have thought for 8 years that there was an opposition party joining them in this effort, and they haven't seen it. Now we've got this internecine fight going on over who's a real conservative and who isn't. And to me, all of this is so much bigger than that. It's momentous. It is profound. And I think hugely important and really great things can happen here in one of two different scenarios. It's not all wrapped up in just one. Anyway, I'm a little long here. Let me take a break. We will come back. I always try to get phone calls in the first hour. And got to get the audio sound bites in gear as well. So a lot to come here on Open Line Friday. Be patient. We'll be back before you know it. Yakima, Washington. You know what Yakima, Washington's famous for? First city in the country with 92-gallon rolling trash cans that you put out in the front yard near the street for the garbage guys come pick up. Yakima, Washington. Here's Josh. Great to have you on the phone, sir. Hello.
Hey, Rush. Thanks for having me. I just want to say we need to affect change, and the only way to do it is to get Trump in office. He is the only person who has a pair that's willing to talk about the issues. And, you know, I've always been a lifelong conservative. I'm a W fan. I know a lot of people aren't the last Bush president fan. I loved him. His brother's a nice guy, but he doesn't have a pair. We need someone to speak out. I'm 34, and I agree with that 28-year-old caller, the Millennium. We need change.
And that's what Trump... Now, let me ask something else he said. He said, and I thought this was key, because everybody and their uncle, I saw it discussed today, the establishment types of political professionals can't believe that Trump survived his opening comments about Mexicans when he announced his campaign. They can't believe he survived what he said about Megyn Kelly, and they can't believe that he survived what he said about John McCain. This 28-year-old guy told me yesterday, Rush, to understand this, you have to understand it isn't about Trump. He happens to be the vessel. He happens to be the opening, whatever, but we're not interested in destroying Trump because we don't want to destroy what Trump represents. Is that pretty much true for you, too?
That's exactly it. It's obviously not working. Things aren't working. Something needs to change, and it's not, there are things where I kind of look at Trump and I say, boy, really should he have said that? But he's the only person to drive us to making change. And I'm a results-driven guy. I work in logistics, and we need to affect change. We need to see results. So the fact that he says off-the-cuff things, though it's not right, I think your average voter, we're all imperfect, right? We all have our things. He's going to do stupid stuff, but he's going to drive us to those results. That's the only way.
Right. You talk about, thanks for the call. You talk about things are not working. I disagree. I think the Obama machine is well-oiled. I think the Obama administration is clicking on all cylinders. I think there's nothing stopping them. I don't think they're leaking oil. I don't think they got any carburetor problems. I think their jet engines are on afterburner, and there's nobody stop them. It's working better than they ever dreamed it would. And now Obama's so energized, he's going to go the executive action route because it's been told effectively that there's no attempt to stop him here. Things are working for Obama, and that just adds to the frustration and the fear and the anger of people who don't want it. Half my brain tied behind my back, just to make it fair. Always remember that. Fairness, the name of the game here. Rush Limbaugh and the EIB Network will be back through an obscene profit break here, so hang in there, be tough. Welcome back, folks. Great to have you here. Rush Limbaugh on the cutting edge of societal evolution. America's real anchorman, a doctor of democracy, a truth detector, general all-round good guy, and radio raconteur on Friday.
Live from the Southern Command in sunny South Florida, it's Open Line Friday!
Meeting and surpassing all audience expectations every day. And it is Open Line Friday, where callers are free to take it wherever they want to go. 800-282-2882 if you want to be on the program, and the email address lrushbo@eibnet.com. How about this headline in the Daily Caller? Bill Clinton to give speech in Las Vegas during Porn Expo. Does that make sense? Bill Clinton to give speech in Las Vegas during Porn Expo. And they've got some pictures, the Daily Caller. They got some pictures with Clinton. Definitely the babes look like porn stars from previous porn expos. Anyway, great to have you back here, folks. Let's go straight to the audio soundbites. Rich Lowry's the editor of National Review. He's on Megyn Kelly last night. And this is about they had a whole issue here trying to take Trump out. They've got contributors, 300, 400 words each. And the editors, noted staff columnists and writers, in a giant, singular, focused issue designed to inform people that Donald Trump is not a conservative, and whatever else he is, you should not support him. He represents an existential threat. So Rich Lowry, the editor, and by the way, National Review once put me on the cover. I forget the year. It was in the early 90s. And it was called The Leader of the Opposition. And Bob Novak wrote it. The late, great Robert Novak wrote the story. Oh, they affectionately called him the Prince of Darkness. He was not a dark guy. He was a great, great guy. Robert Novak was he had that show on CNN with Roland Evans. And it was a hoot. It was a hoot to watch. They had asked me to be on it, and I kept saying, no, I don't want to do it. And finally I accepted the invitation and went over there, and Mr. Limbaugh, Roland Evans trying to run things by me that he just couldn't. I mean, he was the quintessential private club guy. You know, Rolly Evans, at the end of the day, you see him in the lobby of the Exeter Club with a cigar and port with a newspaper on, sitting there talking about things with his buddies. A classic. But it was a great time. They wrote this story on me as the leader of the opposition early on in this program's life. And it was rooted, if my memory serves, I have it somewhere on one of my computer drives here. I think it was rooted in the fact that the Republican Party should take some guidance from me. The theme of the story was leader of the opposition, meaning I was conservative. The Republican Party should start paying attention. And I remember it ran not much. It was 92, I think, because I ran in. Okay, well, whatever it was, I ran into Bob Novak after he had written at the Republican convention in 1992 in Houston. It was some sort of a cocktail party. And I walked up to him, and they did not talk to me about it. They didn't interview me. I had no idea it was coming. Wait a minute. No, Novak did. No. Sorry, Novak did not write it. Novak wrote a column in 1992 that was the same theme. I'm sorry, it was a different guy that wrote the National Review cover story on me. Bowman? Was the last name Bowman? Anyway, we'll find it. But the theme was the Republican Party is not conservative enough. You need to listen to this guy. And it was, this is highlight in my career at the time. Second only to the night that I met James Bowman. I knew James Bowman, but it was second only to the night that I met Mr. Buckley, which was long after that cover ran. Well, not long after, but sometime afterwards. And so, what year was it? 1993. So, how many years ago was that? That's 23 years ago. 23 years ago. And even back then, September 6, 1993, and the theme of the story was the Republican Party should pay attention to me, what's going on, because they weren't conservative enough. And obviously they were trying to provoke the Republican Party with the cover. They provoked a lot of people, actually. But for me, it was a great honor. And here we are 23 years later. And I look at myself as having not changed. Yeah, I'm still the leader of the opposition. But in terms of the core principle, my core, I haven't changed. I haven't bent with the wind. I haven't bent and shaped and, figured out, I haven't chosen the more popular position on things and gone there. But that's not true of quite a few others. It's interesting to go back and look at the landscape. Anyway, as I say, this is, to me, in my lifetime, it's unprecedented where a political party is attempting to take out, or elements of the party are attempting to take out both of the frontrunners, Cruz and Donald Trump. Did you see, by the way, National Review had their invitation to co-moderate the next debate rescinded because of this issue? You want to talk about weird? Look, folks, you and I know the Republican establishment no more wants Donald Trump than they want Cruz. They don't want either of them, but they hate Cruz. They despise Cruz. Because they're afraid of Ted Cruz. They really do not. At the Republican Party, conservatism is an outlier. Conservatism is something to make fun of or be afraid of. Conservatism is something that you only make a pretension of accepting. But in the inner sanctum, where the people that run the show really are, you're not going to find any real conservatives in there. They're going to be laughed at and mocked and manipulated or what have you. And Cruz, they can't manipulate him. They can't, as the vernacular is, do deals with him. He's doctrinaire. He believes it. He's persuasive with it. He can articulate it. And it just scares the heck out of him. Because both things are at stake here, in a sense. Ted Cruz would demonstrate the irrelevance of the Republican Party by winning. Trump, on the other hand, they don't even think is a Republican. When you get right down to brass tacks of people inside the Republican Party, don't even think he's a Republican. They don't think he's a party man one way or the other. They think he's an opportunist, maybe engaging in a little populism here, maybe engaging in a little nationalism, but they don't think there's a Trump core outside of what's good for Trump. And if it weren't for the fact that Cruz is in there, everybody would be joining National Review trying to take Trump out. But Cruz represents the greater threat to the Republican establishment if he were to win. They've got themselves convinced. You listen to Dole, you listen to whoever, I can't remember the establishment types piping up, Lindsey Graham, I mean, they're all coming out and saying that Trump, well, yeah, we could work with Trump. They think Trump is malleable, meaning that they think they'd have their way in persuading him on things now and then. But with Trump or Cruz, they know that's a lost cause. But either way you slice it, elements of the Republican Party are trying to wipe out their two frontrunners and going so far as to say on the Cruz side that if this guy wins, I'm voting Hillary. Some of them have actually been quoted anonymously as saying that. You remember yesterday on this program, toward the end, we saw an AP story that Richard Burr, North Carolina senator, was in one of these private meetings with somebody, donors or staff or whatever, and somebody in the meeting reportedly told AP that Senator Richard Burr, North Carolina, told the group that he would vote for Bernie Sanders over Ted Cruz or Trump. I don't remember which. Find it here. Anyway, that caused all hell to blow up at the Richard Burr office and campaign. Campaign aides for U.S. Senator Richard Burr Thursday denied a report that said he had told people he'd vote for Bernie Sanders over Ted Cruz. Aides have asked the AP for a retraction. An AP spokesman said the news agency sticking by its story. They will not retract it. Richard Burr and his people are out shouting from the rooftops, please don't believe this. I didn't say it. Senator Burr didn't say it. AP won't retract it, but we didn't say it. AP, when they are asked about it, no, we're standing by the story. We got good source. Our source told us that's what the senator said. We're sticking with it. So you can see it doesn't fly when people hear it. Richard Burr's not the only one. There are a number of Republicans who are leaking to the media via spokesman or anonymous admissions themselves. Oh, if Trump or Cruz, largely Cruz. If Cruz, oh my God, I'm out of here. We can't have Cruz. Count me in. I'm voting Hillary. I'm voting Bernie. Whatever. And it just sits there because it's anonymous. We don't know who it is actually saying it. We're told it's a prominent elected Republican in each instance. There are 4 of them that I know of. This one mentions a senator, Richard Burr. Look what happened when the news was identified and attached to an actual senator. The senator goes into gear and denies it. Why? If Ted Cruz is such a bad thing to happen, why not, when you're accused of not wanting him to be president, why not stand up and own it? Forget it's Burr. Any one of these Republicans or senators, if they're out there anonymously whispering to anybody in the media, hey, let me tell you something. I'll tell you how bad it is, they say. If Cruz gets a nomination, that's it for me, bud. I'm voting Hillary or Bernie, whoever it is on the Democrat side. Wow, can they write it down? They save it for a rainy day. Now, you think they really mean it. They're leaking it. They're saying, but when the news is reported and attached to a name, as it was with Richard Burr, what did Richard Burr do? He didn't stand up and say, you damn right. You damn right. If Ted Cruz gets this nomination, I'm out of here. That's the end of this party for me. I'm voting Bernie. I'm voting. He didn't say that. No, he ran out there and begged people. Don't believe it. Don't believe it. I didn't say it. Well, wait a minute now. He's not the only one. If it's that bad, if Ted Cruz winning is that bad that you would vote for a Democrat for president, why not own it? That's what I don't understand. If it's that bad and you're threatening to do this off the record, why not own it? Well, the answer is they're really not going to do it. They're in a state of panic. They hate Cruz for any number of reasons. He has taken them on in the floor of the Senate. He's challenged their integrity and their honesty. I mean, reasons are understandable. But to hell with party loyalty. I mean, if he gets a nomination, screw it. I'll tell you this. If Cruz gets a nomination, they will work. Some of them will work to undermine him. I mean, there's no question. And the same thing with Trump. There's too much at stake here for the Republican Party, folks. This is the point that I'm trying to make. All these age-old Jurassic Park dinosaurs, they want to hold on to their club. They want to hold on to control of the club. They want to be able to be the ones that determine who gets in the club. They want to be able to determine who is a leader of the club. They don't want to lose the club, and they don't want to lose control over it, and it doesn't matter what happens to the country in the process. This is their livelihood, as far as they're concerned. This is their careers. This is their money. This is their income. This is their future. See, when it's their future on the line and it gets threatened, then they'll do whatever it takes to protect it. When it's your future that's imperiled, resulting from policies they either don't oppose in Washington or support, you're supposed to gut it up, tough up, and understand that there are larger things we have to work on here. And then you're told you must continue to donate, you must save the party, you must support the party, and the party won't even come out and openly support you, because to do so might make them get called racists or something by the media. I'm looking at all this, and I think it's momentous what's happening here. I think it's bigger than anybody even realizes, because everybody that's talking about it is really looking at it personally. Oh, my God, what's this going to mean for me? What's this going to mean for my think tank? What's this going to mean for my magazine? What's this going to mean for my party? What's this going to mean for my committee chairmanship? What's this going to mean for... And the people, the voters, none of that is of any concern to them. The stakes for them are personal, too. And the places they have sent money and offered support, thinking that their causes and that their interests were going to be advanced or represented or defended, they haven't seen any of that. So they're saying, okay, fine. We're on our own, and we're going wherever we think we can best stop the Democrat Party, Barack Hussein Obama, and anybody else part of that organization. It really isn't any more complicated than that. Back in just... You know, folks, you recall this. I have been saying for a long time, as I've been doing this for a long time, how the Reverend Sharptons and the Reverend Zaxons do not want the race problems of this country to end. They'd be out of business. They don't want solutions to the civil rights problems. The Democrat Party doesn't either. The Democrat Party doesn't want a solution to illegal immigration. They want to profit from it. They want to register them as voters. The worst thing that could happen to Jesse Jackson is if racial harmony descended and swept the nation. They'd be out of business. Without any racial strife, without any imagined bigotry, racism, sexism, all of these left-wing social groups would be out of business. They need something to complain about. They need things in rotten shape in order to make a living, in order to seek donations, which is how most of them make their livings, off of other people's charity. Well, that kind of thing is not restricted to just the Democratic Civil Rights Coalition. There's all kinds of people out there who enjoy the opportunity presented by the academic exercise, the opportunity to be part of the debating society, to show how smart you are and brilliant you are. In other words, some people constantly need something to run against as a reason to exist. And my point here is that those people don't claim not to understand what's going on. The people that are abandoning both establishments for other candidates, they are results-oriented. They want solutions. They want some of this stuff to be brought to a halt. They want some of these people who have been winning too long to lose. It's that simple. Okay, now to the audio sound bites. Rich Lowry on with Megyn Kelly last night on the Fox News Channel. She says, when Palin gave the endorsement, many said that Trump has won over the conservative base, that hers is an endorsement from the conservative base. And you and the others at National Review stand up tonight and say, not so.
The point we're making, it's up to conservatives who think that Donald Trump, whatever his virtues are, doesn't truly understand the ideas and principles that make this country great. It's up to those conservatives to stand up and say, no, sorry, we oppose this. If you truly are conservative, you believe in ideas and principles. It's not just attitudes. It's not just who you dislike. It's limited government. It's the Constitution. It's liberty. Those are the things that truly make this country special. And they are basically afterthoughts to Donald Trump.
He continued with this.
He has been on the other side on big, hot-button, defining issues like abortion, gun control, taxes, even on immigration. He is really conning people. This is someone who 3 or 4 short years ago was criticizing nice, pleasant, polite Mitt Romney for being too harsh on immigration. It wouldn't surprise me if one day Donald Trump, if he gets the nomination, wakes up the next day and says, you know what, deporting people, the best people in the country have told me it's not possible. Forget it.
So the all-out effort is on now to convince you, if you are in the Trump camp, that you are making a grave error. That if you are doing this because you think Trump is a conservative, National Review wants you to believe that Trump is not a conservative. And therefore you shouldn't fall for anything that he's saying. What was that, Mr. Snerdley? Mr. Snerdley says, we've heard all this before. We have heard this. I mean, but not in this format. I mean, an entire magazine is not devoted every page to the concept there. Yeah, people have run around. Hey, Trump's not a conservative. Hey, he voted for Hillary. Or, hey, he loves Hillary. Hillary went to his wedding. Or, hey, he's made donations. I don't know. People have been saying this all campaign, and it isn't mattering. Do you know why it does? Why do you think it doesn't matter? What? Well, wait a second. What? Okay, well, Snerdley says it's not because they don't read National Review, but it's not just National Review saying this. I mean, any number. Jeb Bush has been trying to say it. John Kasich's been trying to say it. Any number. I mean, a bunch of conservative pundits elsewhere have been trying to warn everybody that Trump is not a conservative. And don't fall for it. Is Trump running as one? Look, I'm back to the makeup of the Trump coalition. The majority of it is probably Republican, but it's broad-based. I mean, you've got a lot of people in the Trump so-called coalition, 20% Democrats, minimum. Demographic spreads pretty broad. An argument that Trump isn't conservative is not going to matter. That's not why they're supporting him in the first place. But National Review's got to put down a marker. They are establishing who is and who isn't a conservative. And that's one of their roles. But I don't know, folks. I mean, is Mitt Romney conservative? Is McCain conservative? Well, I know McCain hated conservatives. Yes, right, Limbaugh. And I had you in mind. Let's move on to audio. Somebody, what is it? I guess we're up to number 7. Roger Stone. Now, Roger Stone is, how would you describe the guy? He's a raconteur. He's a sometime Republican consultant, has ostensibly been working on the Trump campaign, then left it early last fall. Formerly married to a woman named Ann Stone back in the 90s. Ann Stone, does the name ring a bell? She was leader of a group called Republican Women for Pro-Choice, or Pro-Choice Republican Women, or some such thing. She was one of the, they're divorced now, but she was one of the early prominent Republican women trying to drive the pro-lifers out of the Republican Party. She was prominent at the Republican convention in 1992. Stone has been known as a consultant who likes to play tricks on opposing candidates. And Megyn Kelly went out, found him too, brought him in last night, and asked him, is what National Review is doing damaging to Trump?
His campaign being a conservative insurrection, an uprising, with the fact that he is poised to sweep through these primaries. Everyone who signed that letter, they're all friends of mine and they're good people, but they're purists. There's plenty of red meat, conservative red meat in Donald Trump's platform on immigration. You might have the first president in my lifetime who's actually unencumbered and actually able to cut federal spending, rebuild our military, and make the country great again.
Megyn Kelly then said, well, they're not really challenging your assertions about Trump making America great again. They're saying they don't believe it.
I agree with William Buckley, the founder of the National Review, who once said, I'm for the conservative candidate who can win. Donald Trump has crossover appeal to blue-collar Democrats, to African Americans, to non-Republicans, because he is free to criticize both Republicans and Democrats. That's why he is potentially the strongest candidate. I first met him, by the way, when I was organizing Ronald Reagan's campaign in New York in 1979, and he and his father were raising money for Ronald Reagan. So don't tell me he hasn't been on the front lines, because he has. On the Second Amendment, there's only one candidate for president with a concealed carry permit, and I guarantee you he's packing heat right now.
Okay, so there's Roger Stone for Trump, who is basically challenging one of the premises put forth by National Review, that he's bigger and beyond conservatism, and so you can't really hit him with any strength or lasting effect from that focal point. Once again, CNN, in the midst of all this, is still trying to figure out where I come down on all this. And I find this fascinating. Played it earlier, play it again. Audio soundbite number 9. This is Tom Foreman on Anderson Cooper 360 last night.
Trump has enjoyed oceans of praise on conservative radio.
The last 10 minutes of what Trump did last night sealed the deal. I mean, the sincerity, the appreciation for the audience.
But now that he's taking on his closest challenger, Tea Party favorite Ted Cruz, the tide is turning.
A genuine conservative, even in the Republican field, would not go after Cruz this way.
As the months passed and the battle with Cruz became inevitable, the conservative talkers sharpened their words. And the dean of conservative talk, Rush Limbaugh?
I think Trump is making a strategic error in the way he criticizes Cruz. But, folks, it's unrealistic to expect that they're not going to go after each other.
The conservative talkers will almost certainly hurt Trump if they keep hitting him this way. But if he looks like he can win the nomination and the White House, they could change their tune again. After all, they've been mad at the Democrats a whole lot longer.
Sticking with CNN, this is Dana Bash on CNN's newsroom this morning with the info babe, Carol Costello. And they're talking about National Review's entire issue devoted to stopping Trump. And Carol Costello says to Dana Bash, She's used to be the congressional, then the White House. Now she's the chief political correspondent. She's climbing the ladder there at CNN. And Costello says, so what do you think the impact of National Review is going to be on Trump?
You saw John McCain had problems in 2008. Mitt Romney, first in 2008 and then 2012, never really got the heart and soul of the base behind him. And in large part, it's because he changed his position on abortion. He changed his position on other issues that have been really important to conservatives. That has been thrown out the window for Donald Trump. He was outspokenly pro-choice. He has been outspoken in his history, even in a book that he published, wanting a single-payer universal health care system. And so much of the conservative base, they just don't care. It's not that they don't know, but they don't care.
Okay, why don't they care? This is let's take that for the moment as true. There's an explanation for it. And that's what, actually, if I may be honest, the focal point of me in this whole thing, I'm trying to explain to myself so I can pass it on to you. Why certain things that used to matter don't now. And this is a great example. Although she makes a big deal here about, Trump book he published wanting single payer, but it doesn't matter. Why doesn't it matter? There are two immediate answers that come to mind. I got to take a break. I'll have them for you on the other side. Okay, so here's Dana Bash on CNN last night, and she's saying Trump was outspokenly pro-choice. He has been outspoken in his history in a book that he published, wanting single-payer universal health care system. And much of the conservative base, they know it. They just don't care. It's not that they don't know. They just don't care. Trump was, as I understand it, this dates back to 2000, the year 2000. He's toying around with a Reform Party ticket. There have been 16, 15 years go by. A lot more is known about it. Trump's not talking about it now. But beyond that, the Republican Party nominated somebody that essentially gave us Obamacare. You can sit there and but Trump is free, single payer, Trump is single payer. Well, the Republican Party didn't stop Obama from doing Obamacare. I mean, what are these people supposed to do? Yeah, in the first term, they didn't have the votes to stop Obama, but then they ran for office in 2010. They ran for office in 2014, promising us that they would use the power of the purse. They would defund it. They would try to repeal it. And every effort they made was phony. These people are not stupid. They think, why continue to invest in a Republican Party which has openly said it's not going to stop Obama? In a Republican Party, you can talk about Trump all you want. It's not Trump that's sidling up with the Democrats on amnesty. And if you don't think that's the number one issue that's animating all of this, then you've got something really big to learn. That issue pretty much encompasses everything else people are supporting in Trump. It defines the massive change, the rejection of the two-party status quo on all of this. So at this stage, whether somebody's conservative or not conservative enough, we're so far beyond that right now. I'm talking about Trump's supporters. I'm got my analyst hat here on, folks. I could be wrong. But this is what fascinates me, trying to understand why people do what they do. A whole career has been devoted to understanding the left and telling you who they are and passing it on to you so you'll recognize it and be able to stop it. I have said from I don't know how long, I don't know how many years I've been saying the single best thing we could do is educate everybody to ideology so they can spot liberalism because it's openly destructive. We're living 7 years of the destruction of liberalism. Undiluted, concentrated, liberal destruction. We don't have to speak theoretically. We don't have to issue warnings. All we've got to do is explain to people why they can't get a job. Explain to people why open borders are happening. Explain to people why the Iranians are getting a nuke. Explain to people why 94 million Americans are not working and can't find a job. There are demonstrative reasons, and you can trace every damn one of them to the Democrat Party and the American left, Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, John Kerry, all of them. And we don't get one syllable of that from the Republican Party. So what are these people supposed to do? They understand immigration. It's not hard. It's called the law, and people are breaking it. And the people breaking it are being rewarded and given things that the people who are not breaking the law are having to pay for. It's not hard to understand this. But Donald Trump, he wants right about here as a single payer. Sorry, we've already got it. If you haven't noticed, we've got Obamacare, and we're heading down that road already. And who gave it to us? Barack Hussein Obama and the Democrats, not Donald Trump. And who didn't try to singularly stop it or repeal it when they told us they would? GOP. What are people supposed to do? Well, Trump's not a conservative. I don't know. I'm not even thinking about that. This is serious stuff to these people. In addition to their livelihood and their careers being destroyed, they're being blamed for everything because they're racist. They're being told they're bigots. They're being told they're sexists. They're being told that they are the problem. They are being told by the Democrat Party and the American media that they have been the problem since the founding of this country. And they are openly told, we're taking it back from you. We're taking it away from you. And so college educations are being perverted with this wacko studies and that wacko studies. This has been, for 7 years, a sitting duck of an opponent waiting to be blown to smithereens for all time. American and worldwide liberalism. We're living it. We don't have to warn people. We don't have to say, if you're not careful, we're going to end up, because it's happening. So somebody comes along, going to put the brakes on all of it, or seems to, and massive change in direction or what. It's not hard to understand this. But if your livelihood depends on, never mind. I'd take a back after this, folks. No. I know. I've been a little remiss here in integrating. I love that word, integrating your phone calls into the mix here. So that's coming up. Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. That we spoke a little bit about it at the beginning of the program. Hillary is out there. Bernie is accusing her of being part of the establishment, which proves to me that Bernie is a freaking copycat. He's stealing our best stuff and appropriating it himself. And Hillary, I don't know what establishment means. What does that mean? I only know what vast right-wing conspiracy is, but I don't know what establishment. What a phony, baloney, plastic, banana, good time rock and roller. Anyway, John Kerry has admitted that some sanctions money is going to go to terrorism. And he says, so what? What's your problem with that? The views expressed by the host on this program documented to be almost always right, 99.8% of the time. It's Friday. Let's keep it rolling.
Live from the Southern Command in sunny South Florida, it's Open Line Friday.
One big, exciting, busy broadcast hour remains, hosted by me, your guiding light. An excellent role model for the youths of America. Rush Limbaugh serving humanity simply by being here. Hey, we have a... Mike, do we not have a special warning from the White House from somebody on the blizzard? Yeah, but it's starting to hit here. It's in Charlotte now, and it's heading into Washington, and a lot of people think they're going to die this weekend. Media is telling everybody they're going to die. Have you seen some grocery stores? The shelves are bare. Have you seen this? I mean, it looks like Moscow. It looks like the gum store in Moscow. It looks like communism. in some of these Washington, D.C. and suburban groceries. Literally, there's nothing there. There's nothing on the shelves. People who don't want to die have gone to the grocery store early to pick up beans and Franks and whatever other canned goods the government says to go get. And whatever, there's nothing. I've seen a bunch of pictures, and the grocery store shelves totally empty. Okay, back to the audio sound bites, and we'll get a few of these here, then we'll get your phone calls in as we wrap up the very, very busy broadcast hour. Anna Navarro is a Republican strategist. She's a Republican consultant. She is on CNN all the time, giving the Republican perspective on things. She lives in Miami. She travels, though, wherever there's a camera. She'll go. I'm just kidding. I met Anna at a cigar dinner one night, and she gave me the business about Republican Party and immigration and how I was missing the boat. I better get my mind right on it. And she's funny. So she was on CNN with New Day today, the show Allison Camerata, and responding to the National Review entire magazine, entire issue devoted to taking out Donald Trump. And Allison Camerata, formerly of Fox News, by the way, who then went over to CNN. So the question is, was she a liberal and hiding it at Fox? Or is she a conservative and is a liberal faking it at CNN? I mean, these are the big questions. This is what, and the kind of thing people want to know. So she's talking to Anna Navarro. She said, what do you think of National Review coming out, the special edition, basically devoted to proving that Trump is not a true conservative?
My only question to them and to conservatives now taking this line is, what took you so long? It's almost a little bit too late. And, you know, I think Donald Trump has handled it, frankly, very well. He basically doesn't deny it. He says, yeah, I've changed my mind. I've given money to Democrats. I've invited the Clintons to my wedding. Yeah, it's true. But this is where I am now. I'm not sure how much of an effect it's going to have now. It should have been nipped in the bud months ago.
You know, she's speaking for a lot of people. Well, wait, where was this back in September? Where was this back in August? Well, it's too late now. And have you heard Trump's tweets on this? Oh, did I write them down? Did I keep them here on my cheat sheet? He's had a series of tweets. In fact, some of them go back to last year. Last year, or maybe it was April of this year. In April of this year, Donald Trump was actually tweeting that he felt very bad for National Review. It was losing so many readers, and we needed to be helping it. He was urging people to help National Review because it was very important that it survive for the conservative movement. Now, that was back in April. His tweets now are essentially, I'm paraphrasing it, I don't have it in front of me, but it was basically, you know, it's a dying paper. It's a dying paper, and it's a shame to see, but it's a last gasp effort. They're trying to save themselves at my expense, but they don't have any influence anymore. Nobody cares. Typical Trump response. Anna Navarro says, hey, Trump's admitting that he gave money to Hillary, admitting that he invited her to the wedding. That was then, this is now. Speaking of which, let me grab a call. We got a call about that very thing. And it is Frank in South Leon, Michigan. Welcome to the EIB Network, Frank. Hi.
Hi, Russ. How you doing?
Very well, sir. Thank you.
Hey, yeah, the reason I was calling was in the first debate, I mean, Trump almost had a Jack Nicholson and a Few Good Men moment where he almost admitted to a crime. He said, I gave money to them, and they do what I tell them to do. And before he said, you know, they gave him building permits or something, he said, I invited her to my wedding, and she came. I just don't know why people aren't investigating for crimes of bribery, or at the very least looking at him as a lobbyist.
Wait. Investigating who?
Trump, because he's bribing officials to get what he wants. I mean, people that are getting bribed as well.
No. If that's bribery, then every K Street firm is going to be in jail by Monday. That's not bribery, but that's one of the things that people are very frustrated by, that money, the donor class, is running the show. I mean, it's clearly why the Republican Party is content to sit by and let the Democrats get their amnesty and comprehensive immigration reform. Look, see, this is another thing. The people are not stupid. They're not mind-numb robots. The people who think immigration is the beginning and end of stopping the destruction of this country, they know full well that it's not an issue of compassion. The Democrat Party not trying to help the downtrodden. They know full well it's not about helping people overcome horrible obstacles. It's not about extending the American dream to people. It's about registering voters. The people of this country who oppose illegal immigration are not nativists, as they've been called. They are not bigots. They're not prejudiced against foreigners. They know what's going on here. They know that the Democrat Party wants this endless stream of unskilled, uneducated people to become registered as Democrats, who will then become the permanent underclass that will always vote Democrat, because other than that, they won't have a way to live. Now, who in their right mind would support that? That's the primary form of opposition to this. And they don't see the Republican Party making a serious effort to stop it. Quite the opposite. It's a matter of survival to them. But the donor class, they want that low-skilled, uneducated, never-ending flow of people because they'll work for less. And the donors have become more important than the voters to many in the Republican Party. So if you, masses of people who vote, want something, the power of your vote, collectively expressed, has now been dwarfed by the amount of money given by donors. And if the donors want the Republican Party to stand aside, or maybe even join with the Democrats on comprehensive immigration reform, then that's what elected Republicans are going to do. And it's, look, money's always been a dominant factor in politics. But I don't recall, and look, I could be dead wrong about this, because I've only been alive as an adult paying attention to this stuff 50 years or so. But I have never seen, I can't recall a period of time, speaking now of the Republican Party, where the expression of public opinion, majority public opinion, doesn't mean anything. I remember after the 2002 midterms, that was the year of the Wellstone Memorial. The Democrats had it in their heads that they were going to smoke the Republicans, because by that time they thought they had really amplified the hatred for George W. Bush coming off the Florida recount. Then 9/11 happened. And they're out there, and they just despise Bush. We got the beginnings here of the debate on the Iraq War. The Democrats wanted it both ways on that. So they have this, the Paul Wellstone died in a plane crash. They had a memorial for him in Minnesota, and a bunch of Republican colleagues, senators, went to it, and they got booed out of the place. And they turned that memorial, essentially a funeral service, if you will, for Paul Wellstone, into one of the most despicable, pathetic displays of pathetic political selfishness on the part of the Democrat Party anybody's ever seen. Well, here came the midterms later in November, and guess what? That's a year, an off year. The opposing party, in this case Democrats, is supposed to just score huge, and the Democrats lost. The Republicans added seats in the House of Representatives. And I was doing election analysis coverage on NBC with Tom Brokaw and Russert. Brokaw could not believe what was happening. After those midterms, the Democrat losers, for 2 weeks afterwards, went to the microphones and went on television and said, you know what? We failed in listening to the American people, and we're going to fix that. We're going to start listening to the American people. There was another big issue in that midterm was value. Value voters came out of nowhere. according to exit polls. So the Democrats started talking about how, you know what, we're going to have to pay a little bit more attention to the values questions. In other words, they were acknowledging the will of the voters. That doesn't happen anymore. The will of the voters matters only if you win, but it's the donors to whom elected officials have become loyal in terms of policy implementation and execution. Whether anybody wants to admit it or not, there's a guy in this race not taking that kind of money. I'm here to tell you, people are aware. They're not dunces. They're not uninformed on this kind of stuff. They see it. So there are explanations to this. Hugh Hewitt, who is radio talk show host out in L.A., was part of the Reagan administration and has appeared on CNN as a moderator for some of the debates that they have had. Was on Anderson Cooper last night. And they're talking about all of this confusion out there, the National Review doing the issue and the Trump Cruz phenomena, what it all means. And he was with John Berman filling in for Anderson Cooper, and this was the little exchange that they had.
It's not universal. I mean, Rush Limbaugh, for instance, and some people would consider the dean of conservative talk radio, he's kind of gone back and forth and in some cases given Donald Trump a lot of cover.
Rush is Donald's friend. And Rush is, in fact, the big kahuna. He is the maker of the feast, as Scrooge was referred to after his conversion on Christmas. He always makes the market for talk radio, and so everyone knows that Rush matters a lot more than pretty much anybody else. And he does like Ted Cruz a lot. I was listening to his show today, and so maybe there's a tilt there, maybe there isn't. I don't think he's declared, obviously.
You know what? Hugh Hewitt is a smart guy. But what strikes me here, I just realized this. Look at all these CNN people who know what I'm doing on this program. You know how odd that is? Most of these people, they never listen here. They find out what happened on this program by going to a watchdog website like Media Matters or what have you. But here's John Berman. We had 2 or 3 other hosts, this Foreman guy. And for a couple of 3 weeks now, these CNN people, at least, we still have the ban on MSNBC, so I don't know what they're saying, but these CNN people, I mean, they must be following this. I wonder why. They're following this, and they have concluded, you know what, we haven't heard Rush come down one way or the other on it. What's up with that? How did they even know? I thought that this program was so beneath their standards that it's so unimportant. It's just... Do you remember who it was to call me the big kahuna? I'm not trying to take anything away from Hugh Hewitt. I admire Hugh Hewitt a tremendous amount. Well, let's go back, November 13th, 1995, to the floor of the House of Representatives.
And they had the big kahuna of Go Pack Come Speak, none other than Rush Limbaugh. He was hailing the GOP budget. It was wonderful because it would starve the poor, and it would drive Medicare recipients, including his mother, to eat dog food. But not to worry, Mom, he says, I'm sending you a new can opener. Wow. That tells you what today's about.
Patsy Schroeder, exactly right. One of the early feminazis. She was a Democrat. She ran for president and cried when she realized she couldn't win. That wasn't so bad. It's that she cried on the shoulder of her husband. And at that point, nobody knew she had one. It was a total betrayal of the feminists, A, cry, and to B, admit she had a husband who had a shoulder on which she would cry. Oh, it was a bad day for him. I had made a speech at GoPac. Time again. I'm sorry, I got to take a break. Okay, it was a Sunday. I was asked to make a speech at GoPac. I did, but I demanded a TV because the Cowboys and 49ers were on. So I demanded a TV back in the green room and a delay in the start of my speech so I could see the first half before I had to go out there. So they accommodated me on that. Now, what was going on at the time was a big budget debate, as always, and there were Medicare cuts. The Democrats were threatening all these Medicare cuts the Republicans are going to make, and the Democrats are running around saying that seniors were going to have to choose between dog food or medicine because of all the budget cuts. So I went out there and mocking the Democrats. I told these GOPAC guys I was proud to be a member, and I said, don't sweat the budget. Look, I understand that it's a choice here between dog food and medicine. Do what I do. I'm going to send my mom a new can opener, making it easier to open the dog food. Mocking the whole thing. They laughed uproariously at GOPAC. The thing that Patsy Schroeder thought I was serious. Here is a woman who literally thought that I was serious, that I was fine with my mom eating dog food. I was going to send her a new can opener, and that would fix it. She went to the floor of the House. And by the way, somebody got to her because she didn't say a thing about it ever again. They grabbed the hooks. Patsy, it was a joke. Just amazing. Bob in Garden Valley, Idaho, great to have you on Open Line Friday. Hello, sir.
El Rospo.
Hey.
How you doing, sir?
Very, very well, sir. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. The reason for my call is this Trump and Cruz bashing.
Yeah.
I discovered something out about the United States government a long time ago while I was still in the Army. And because of that oath, I've lived by it since. But going back to the Trump and Cruz bashers, they're doing this because they're very afraid of what Trump and Bush can do. Do I like either one of them? Well, I won't say. That's between me and my Creator above. But these people that are going out of their way to intentionally verbally harm Donald Trump and Ted Cruz, they are actually the people that your listeners, all 6 of them, yes, that's a joke.
Time is dwindling here.
Need to understand that those are the people they need to not listen to. They need to listen to people like Trump and Cruz because they are, in fact, telling at least a modicum.
Okay, I got it. We'll be right back here. A man, a legend, a way of life. The last caller, his point was that all of these people that he didn't identify them, but you know who they are, attacking Cruz, attacking Trump. And he's a seasoned citizen of sorts and served in the military. And his point was that he's seen a lot. And he was going to say, when unfortunately time ran out here, he was going to say that these critics are just trying to protect their money. I mean, to put it basic essentials, that everybody's trying to protect their money. Whoever is trying to protect their donors, protect their clients or keep their donors donating and keep their clients buying and what have you. Then, in other words, it's all personal, this opposition to Trump. There is a lot of fear out there. I addressed this earlier this week, long before the National Review story hit, and it was in relationship, if you recall, to this piece that I dredged up in 1996 that presaged, if you will, that predicted this very point in time in American history, predicted almost to a T the Trump campaign. The guy who wrote it in 1996 was an advisor then to Pat Buchanan. And one of the points that he made in his piece, he said, Pat, if you're going to go anywhere, you're going to have to stop talking about being a conservative. You can't, they're not going to do anything for you. They're not going to help you, but it's limiting you because what's happening here is beyond conservatism. Well, Buchanan couldn't drop conservatism. He was too closely identified as one. He had run in 1992, I think it was 96 as well, as a conservative. He was a conservative columnist. He was the conservative part of Crossfire for all those years on CNN. So he couldn't abandon conservatism. And what this columnist was suggesting was that populism, nationalism was going to sweep the country because of the failure of the other things. That as the ruling class, he called it a different thing then, but as they continued to usurp the very economics of the country, that more and more people would have less and less, and that what's happening today, as illustrated Trump campaign, was inevitable. It was going to happen at some point. He didn't know when. He was hoping it would happen sooner than it did, as in now, but it's happening. One of the points that he made in the piece, anyway, he warned Buchanan. He said, you don't need these other conservatives. He said, one of the problems is going to be that they are going to realize that they have nothing to do with the insurgency. Here they will have spent all of these years diligently writing and recording their conservative intellectual books and position papers, and they will have been advising candidates. There will be think tanks and all this made up of the smartest, brightest conservatives ever. And they're going to realize, Pat, that they are irrelevant. That all the think tanks and all the position papers and all the policy papers haven't done anything for anybody. And they will lash out and just be livid because they will want to protect what they've created. They will not want to be demonstrated as irrelevant. The guy wrote this back in 1996. And I saw it reprinted, excerpts of it in an issue of a web publication called The Week, and talked about it earlier this week. And that last caller was simply saying that, he didn't say it in that way, but his point was that all the opposition to Cruz and Trump is really coming from people who are afraid they're going to lose their livings if this is all successful. Because here you've got two candidates who are going to triumph, if one of them does, without the infrastructure that everybody's thought was necessary. I found it a fascinating piece, particularly given the fact that it was written back in 1996. Matthew in Raleigh, North Carolina, we have an 11-year-old on the phone. Matthew, it's great to have you with us. How are you this afternoon?
Oh, hello, Mr. Rush, Mr. Limbaugh. I'm here to tell. I'm 11 years old, and I go to an extremely liberal private school in Raleigh, North Carolina. No, it's terrible. So
no. I believe you, Matthew. You're 11 years old, and you're talking about this the way adults do. I find it charming. I think it's great.
I'm a huge Trump supporter, and I'm very outward about it. I like how he's gonna close the borders. I like how he's gonna obliterate ISIS. Well, a few days ago, people are still targeting me. The teacher wrote on the board, beside Martin Luther King, who are some visionaries who are in the world. People wrote down Abraham Lincoln. People wrote down Rosa Parks. People wrote down Pope Francis, and I wrote down Donald Trump. And the next day, the teacher pulled me over and said, erase that comment. And I was like, why? And she's like, what good has he done to this world? I'm like, well, he's created a business, and he's built magnificent buildings in many countries in the world, and he's actually running for president while he's actually stating his ideas. And she made me erase it, and I was thinking, like, wait, why I thought I had freedom of speech. An anchor baby gets citizenship. Why don't I? And I kind of got mad after that. And people are targeting me. They're saying Donald Trump sucks and you do too. And I really don't know what to do.
Well, hey, Matthew, part of me said, join the club. Join the club. I have a lot of people telling me that I suck too, and I don't know what I'm doing. But in all seriousness, you lumped Trump in with Martin Luther King and Abraham Lincoln, and your teacher told you to erase Trump because the teacher didn't think Trump was qualified to be mentioned in the company of those other people, right?
Yes.
And you stood up for Trump, and you tried to explain to her why, in your mind, Trump should be listed with those people.
And she still forced me to erase it because I didn't want to disobey the teacher, but I don't exactly like backing down that much, and I was kind of disturbed by that.
Well, wait a minute now. You say you don't like backing down, but you didn't want to disobey the teacher.
Yes.
In that circumstance, you did the right thing. She is the authority of the classroom. And Matthew, in all truth, you do not have freedom of speech in there. Your teacher can abridge your freedom of speech all day. The government cannot, but your teacher can. And if when you get a job and you go to work for when you become the CEO of Apple,
yes.
The board of directors might try to tell you what you can and can't say or what have you. But you did the right thing. You have to respect the authority figure. As long as you're able to not let that teacher convince you you're wrong. If you really believed what you were doing, then in your heart, it stays there. And you're just doing what you have to do. It's a great life lesson. You're doing what you have to do. She owns that classroom. And obviously, it's a learning exercise for you. You can learn a lot from it. And among those things is how to stay steadfastly devoted to what you believe. Because this is going to happen to you like it happens to everybody many times. Sometimes a day, sometimes many times a week. But you're going to have a lot of people as you grow up telling you you're wrong or you don't know what you're talking about or how can you say that. And in this case, you had a teacher, the ultimate authority figure, telling you. So you have to.
And like 50 other kids behind me. I can take on one-on-one, but after I put that comments and everything, they were like looking at my back. They were
Matthew. Hey, let me tell you something. Can I explain that to you too?
Yes.
All that means is that they're jealous as heck of you. They already know you stand head and shoulders above them. And so the teacher coming down on you made them feel bigger. And they just couldn't help themselves and go, nya. But don't let, you're obviously an advanced human being.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Limbaugh. That's an honor.
It's an honor to have you in the audience. And there's no question about that. So you're very, very mature. Your parents are obviously got to be so proud of you. You just continue to stay. I can't believe I'm saying this to an 11-year-old. But you just stay dedicated to what you truly believe, understanding that all kinds of people are going to insult you or tell you you're wrong. And some of them you're going to have to kowtow to, like the authority figure of a teacher. But others, in all cases, let it go in one ear and out the other. Behave as you must, depending on who is insulting you or commanding you. Like you would your parents. I mean, your parents are your authority figures in home. Right? Or do you tell them what to do?
Yes, I've read your book in our library. It doesn't have your series, but it's Chelsea Clinton's series. So, and I really do like your book. I really love it. It's one of the best series I've ever read.
Chelsea Clinton.
And I have it right next to me. I was just reading upstairs a few days ago.
Well, does your teacher happen to know that you know who I am?
Yes, she does.
Well, let's explain.
I'm not sure.
Yes, of course, that's some of it, no doubt. Look, Matthew, I have to go here. I'm a little bit out of time, but I am so...
Bye. It's an honor meeting you. Thank you for letting me on your show. Bye.
The pleasure is all mine. You hang in there, Matthew. Hang in there. Matthew hung up before we could get the stuff we needed. He said his books were not in his school library, but the Clinton books were. So the usual thing, we want to send him some Rush Revere books and stuff, and he hung up. So, Matthew, if you're still out there, call us back. Use the same number. Snurdly, there's nobody that can fake being you, Matthew. So keep trying to get through, and Snurdly will keep a sharp eye out for you. We want to get your address. You're in Raleigh, North Carolina. And we tried to get to him, but he hung up before we could get there. I should have mentioned it to him. I thought Snurdly was going to be lickety-split there, so we just missed him. But even call back, we'll take care of it. Nick, Greensboro, North Carolina, great to have you on the program, sir. Hello.
Rush, mega dittos.
Thank you.
So the reason I called is I've heard multiple conservative commentators say that if Trump's the nominee and if he asked Ted to be his VP, that Ted shouldn't take it just because based on Ted's own conservative principles. But I'm thinking if Trump wins and offers Ted the VP, I think Ted should employ similar logic to that of what Lyndon Johnson employed in 1971, about J. Edgar Hoover. And that being, Ted should say to himself, it's probably better to have me on the inside urinating out than for me to be on the outside urinating in.
You're speaking from Trump's perspective?
No, from Ted's. That's
from
what
Cruz's
Ted should say to himself. If he can't beat Trump in the primary, what he should tell himself is the same logic as what Lyndon
you know
Johnson
what? Now
said.
Since you bring up that whole thing of Veep and VP, it reminds me. I wasn't going to make it because it's only two people. It's purely anecdotal. But I've had a couple people tell me that if that would be a dream ticket, that I've read a couple people who don't want to have to make the choice of one or the other, would love one of those guys to be at the top and taking the other guy to be the VP. Had a couple people tell me that. No, not golf buddies. Not just others, but maybe more. And others are obviously thinking about it, given the nature here. Nick's call. But that's it for us here, folks. A brief timeout, and we'll close it out when we get back and get ready. Okay, we got young Matthew back, 11 years old from Raleigh, North Carolina, and we're going to take care of him in his school with some classic Rush Revere books, audio books, and other exciting gear. You have a great weekend, folks, and those of you who don't die in the snow, and we'll see you Monday.